I just overcharged that entire gun, and looks like yeah, that gun's not working anymore. And apparently neither is this part of the forest. Definitely get more of that nature feeling. When I was talking about nature, I was really talking about animals mostly, but it definitely also applies to how we intimate ourselves with the rocks and the trees. We jump on the trees, we push the rocks around, snowballs. Those are all definitely parts of nature. I don't want to deny them. They're... Oh god, it's a weird cat throwing arm thing. Oh, it's... I don't think it's complete, but it really wants to throw stuff at us. Luckily it grabs us the same way that those squid things grabbed us. Oh my goodness. Oh, it's got one arm left, and it's not stopping. There's some amazing kind of robotic designs at work right here. It really feels that, like, almost desperation of these robots in the same way that first boss felt. Arms are scary. I think arms just make everything scarier. That's our life lesson we can take from all of this. So anyway, I'm talking about forces of vitality in the game, and I just was talking about mobility and how that's a force that we use, and it actually helps us instead of diminishing us as a player with our own agency. Oh, it's a bummer I can't. They've made a wall that stops me. I was just gonna walk over everything. Anyway, so the last force is more directly just referring to agency itself. And so, like mobility, this is another empowering force that provides the player, ourselves, further opportunity to succeed in the game. So I'm trying to figure out how this robot works. There we go, found the knife button. That's what I needed. So apparently when we have the mech, we have a secondary firing option. And unlimited ammo. And an extra health bar, so there is nothing bad about being in the mech, other than it being very slow. And not super mobile. But yeah, this is something I want to be writing in for as long as I can. Which also means they'll probably, you know, kind of escalate the threat a little bit. Wouldn't doubt them. It also doesn't take health or ammo, so all of these health and ammo pickups we'll be finding will be totally useless. Anyway, so we're now riding in a giant mech for this level. Of course, I'm just gonna get totally cocky and just try to knife everything as much as possible and lose my robot almost immediately. But not without one last slash. Oh, missed out on a giant robot fight. Oh well. Looks like they also kind of have a weak spot in the back. That tanker. Or battery or something. Oh, it's okay, we'll get another chance at this. So, agency is a common force in games, and in this case comes mostly from this like almost religious left to right design. The life bar, the checkpoints, and the player's proclivity towards continuing to the end of this road. However far right it takes us. This is kind of where we can apply our own energies to the game. Between these main rules of survival, going to the right as far as it lets us, it never deviates from that. All levels end to the right at some point, and it's very cool how it does that. Woo! We got an achievement for making explosions, apparently. And we have a grenade launcher now. which is as terrible as it is wonderful. Unfortunately, it has almost no range, so it is, like, oppositely as useless as the laser beam is. But it can kind of move stuff around. Move a lot of stuff around. And these guys are going to be definitely no trouble anymore. We're starting to get a lot of bigger ammo for our guns, which means the enemies are also being armed well, which is not good for our life bar, but you know, we'll have to just figure it out as it goes. Whoa! Oh, stuck under the water. Help me! Thank you, fish. My fishy friend. At the cost of a little bit of life, I can go down or go up or whatever. Okay, so these are 5 of the forces. There's many other forces, but all of these huge forces that I've been talking about for such a long time, they combine in amazing ways to make me as a player feel like I'm part of something much bigger than myself. Between the insignificant feelings, these machines and these beasts of nature that we find along the way, and our own abilities where we have agency within the world in the ways that we move and the mobility, all of these things, they all combine to make me feel like like there's a much bigger thing going on here. And so, in a way, they kind of drive my tenacity to continue the game. Whoa. Propane death balloon? Okay. Definitely don't want to get lit on fire by that thing. So, I'm a tiny part of this whole picture as the player, but I'm given an opportunity to play within the picture to basically carve out my own destiny. And that's called life. That's what that is. In a single game, we've managed to combine the physical with the existential and the spiritual, the mechanical and the spatial, and the natural. And all of these things create a whole experience that becomes the total sum of all of its parts. And it feels alive. The forces combine to create something dynamic and meaningful. And that's life. That's why even we haven't had a single line of dialogue or any kinds of like sound effects or characterizations specific to any one person, or really any of these are just the usual cues that we're used to in storytelling. And we managed to still see this world as a breathing place. And that's really wicked. And it's also what brings us into the last major theme that I have for this game. Commonly, biology is built on the idea of form equals function. Oh, that poor guy took a box to the head. Oh, he's just not having a good day. Hello. I feel like James Bond, just opening an elevator and shooting a guy. Okay, so form equals functions, common biology 101. It's kind of their big idea that they came up with. And so it's an idea it's starting to become kind of regressive philosophically. It's doing a lot of damage really. But this trait also transfers into the philosophies of robotics. Robotics likes to try to emulate not just the human experience, but the life experience in a way. And that's something that Intrusion actually does really well, in a really cool and dynamic way. Not by actually building robots, but like by simulating them through video game. Ooh, yay the rocket button. Let's see if we can shoot some... Yeah, rockets out of windows. Because why make this harder for us? Oh, bridge isn't going down. Guess I'll have to jump over. Okay, so... Intrusion takes this idea of like creating a life experience through robots. Oh, there's our other... We gotta get to that thing first. Okay, so there's an elevator I'm missing here. Quirky little jumping puzzle. Got another door to unlock. There we go. That's what I'm missing. Okay, so we have robots that emulate the exact forms that the designer wants to instill. So the thought process goes something like, I want a robot who floats around the screen and takes up a lot of space. Like a squid. What about a robot who is fast and aggressive that can pounce on the player at a moment's notice? It has to be a predatory cat, like a cougar or a jaguar. And so, just with those kinds of ideas and questions, we have designs that are based on nature. And then the characteristics of those animals transfer into the robots that I have to fight against. Then, to up the ante once more, we add the mechanical engineering of robotics to the mix. And by the end of it all, you have a cougar who can cling to any surface, so very, very functional in that robotic sense. And it can rotate limbs 360 degrees and, in a way, surpass nature with the sole goal of killing the player in interesting ways. One of those interesting ways being throwing stuff at me. Since it can rotate all of its limbs a whole bunch, it's like, alright, we'll just run around and throw stuff a whole bunch. And so, with all of those put together, this game... Oh, those poor guys. They just got tankered. So, this game epitomizes form equals function. But the important question to that is, what is the function that it's emulating? What are we creating form for? And my personal claim is that the function is to play. That these animals and robots were designed from the ground up not to necessarily just be animals, but to be playful. And so thus you have a cat. Cats play. Cats, squids, armadillos, the dragons are kind of what those snow things were like. They all represent boundless energetics and playfulness. And by some magical force, like design, by using those animals as a base, the end effect is that these robots create play whenever the player encounters them. And so that's a really cool idea. We have form equals function of play. Like, play becomes that function in even a mathematical sense, as opposed to just a utilitarian sense. Oh, now we're shooting back lasers and rockets and everything together. Okay, so finally we've got one more topic to bring up with robots before we get to the end final boss of all bosses. I think we've got like one level left. It's not a hugely long game, but I feel like it's a very concise and to the point experience. You get to do a little bit of everything, and then the game ends. you get to fight a little bit of everything as well. Like some very rabid cats.